Good evening, everyone. I declare the council meeting open at 6 p.m. Good evening, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting today is being held on Wajak Noongar Budja, and I'd like to acknowledge and pay my respects to elders past, present and future. I thank all past and present members of the community that have supported the city to better understand and value Noongar culture within the city of Wanneroo. I invite you to bow your head in prayer. Lord, we thank you for blessing our city, our community and our council. Guide us all in our decision-making to act fairly, without fear or favour, and with compassion, integrity, wisdom and honesty. May we show true leadership, be inclusive of all and guide all of the city's people and many families to a prosperous future that all may share. We ask this in your name. Amen. Please note that the audio-visual proceedings of tonight's meeting will be live broadcast online, with the exception of matters discussed behind closed doors. The broadcast of the proceedings of the meeting can be accessed live and on demand through the City of Wanneroo YouTube channel. We have no requests for electronic attendance this evening, so I'll go straight to apologies and leave of absence. Councillor Moore is on parental leave, Councillor Rowe and Councillor Wright are on a leave of absence, and Councillor Figg is an apology. There are no new requests for a leave of absence. I now go to item 3, public question and statement time. The following general rules apply to public question and statement time. Public questions and statements should only relate to the business of the local government and should not be a personal statement or opinion. Only questions relating to matters affecting the local government will be considered at a council meeting, and only questions that relate to the purpose of the meeting will be considered at a special council meeting. Questions may be taken on notice and responded to after the meeting. Questions may not be directed at specific council members or a city employee. Questions are not to be framed in such a way as to reflect adversely on a particular council member or a city employee. First priority will be given to persons who are asking questions relating to items on the current council meeting agenda, and second priority will be given to public statements. Only public statements regarding items on the council agenda under consideration will be heard. Each person seeking to ask questions or make a statement may address the council for a maximum of 3 minutes each. So I have 4 pages of people who want to ask questions this evening. So I just ask Rael Grover to come to the podium, if he could give us his name and the suburb that he lives in. And could you tell me which item you're speaking to? I understand you want to write your questions, read your questions. I believe it's item PQ 01425, but if you could confirm that, that would be good. Thank you, Rael.
Hi. Yes, my name is Rael Grover. I live on Woodvale Drive in Woodvale. And we're here today to discuss or ask questions about Woodvale Corner development. Sorry, was that all you needed?
Yes, you may go ahead, Rael.
So the first question was, under the City of Wanneroo's local planning strategy, is the site classified as an activity centre area?
Mr Dixon?
Through you, Mayor, no it isn't.
Mr Rael?
Second question was, does the City of Wanneroo support an activity centre at the site?
Mr Dixon?
Through you, Mayor, no, the City is not supporting the proposed commercial development on the corner of Woodvale Drive and Wanneroo Road.
Thank you. Mr Grover?
And does the City of Wanneroo support activity centre uses such as supermarkets, petrol stations and fast food outlets outside of an activity centre site?
Mr Dixon?
No. Mayor, I think just in response to, is it Mr Grover?
Yep.
I think we have provided written responses to each of the questions that Mr Grover's provided. I can read out the full and detailed responses if you like, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Mr Dixon.
Thank you. So in response to the third question, the City would support the location of any proposed uses, including supermarkets, petrol stations and fast food outlets, in accordance with our district planning scheme. Number 2, in this regard, supermarkets would only be supported in activity centres. However, uses such as petrol stations would be considered in other areas such as service, commercial and industrial commercial areas. Similarly, fast food outlets would be considered in activity centres and service commercial areas as well, noting that this site is zoned urban development. There's no structure plan being prepared over that area, so none of those uses would be considered appropriate at this point in time.
Thank you. Mr Grover, you have another question?
Thank you. Yeah, did the City of Wanneroo consider, or was any suggestion made for the land at Lot 900 Wanneroo Road, Lot 26 Woodvale Drive and Lot 803 Ancestor Retreat to be purchased by the City?
Mr Dixon.
Through you, Mayor, the City identified the listing of the property being for sale as part of its market monitoring in March 2024. However, the City did not pursue the acquisition of the land, which I understand was quickly under contract.
Would it be possible to make a brief statement?
Yes, how much? Yes, it would, Mr Grover. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. As we live directly opposite the proposed site, and all 3 members of our household are extremely against this proposal, we're not just concerned about several major issues, not just limited to increased traffic movements, but safe access to the site and houses opposite, loss of residential parking areas, the environment and air pollution, extra noise and lighting. If the proposed access road is permitted, our main bedroom window could be within 4 metres of moving cars. I think just a little bit too close, I say. We trust that the Wanneroo Council will consider all residents' issues and concerns when submitting their responsible authority report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Grover, and thank you for taking the time to come in. So the second person I've got here is Mr Martin Murphy. If you'd like to come and take the podium and just give us, you confirm your name and the suburb that you live in. Thank you.
Yes, it's Martin Murphy, 31 Woodvale Drive, Woodvale. Firstly, I'd like to thank the City for answering my 3 questions, so there's no point in me going through those now. I would just like to make a short statement, if that's okay. I'd also just like to let you know that the people here in the gallery are from Woodvale and share our concerns, and that's why they're here today. I understand that the SDAU will be the decision maker on this development application, but the City will be writing a responsible authority report and making submission on the development. When the City writes its recommendation, I ask that you will represent the view of the residents. My wife and I live directly opposite the proposed development site on Woodvale Drive, along with 12 other homes. We don't want or need a commercial centre of this nature in our suburb, which is already well serviced by multiple nearby shopping centres, as well as the adjacent Wangara Industrial Centre. Apart from the obvious environmental issues here, due to the development's proximity to the Yellowgonga Regional Park and conservation issues in relation to Cotland House, we will also be severely affected by increased traffic and noise. Based on the proposed development, all of us residents directly opposite the development will lose their reversing bays, verges and access driveways. These will be replaced by a shared service road with only 1 entry at the Wanneroo Road end and 1 exit outside our house. We personally will not only lose our reversing bay and verge, but will end up with an extremely short driveway between our garage door and the footpath of only 3.5 metres, not even long enough for a small car. This means that if we stop in front of our garage door, we'll actually block the footpath. The service road will not only restrict our access to and from homes, but will have an impact upon emergency access, deliveries and general visitor parking. Also, no consideration of where we put our waste or recycling bins will be placed for collection. In addition, if this service road becomes blocked, for example, by a truck, an emergency vehicle, or a bottleneck from motorists using the service road as a cut-through, because Woodvale Drive will be congested and blocked for people turning into the two rights into the development, this will stop us being able to get out of our homes. Anyway, that's all I've got to say on it. I could probably say a fair bit more, but I think you get the picture. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr Murphy, and we appreciate you coming this evening. I've now got Teresa Ritchie. If you'd like to come and take the podium and give us the suburb you live in and your name, please.
Thank you. Teresa Ritchie, I live in Woodvale. Thank you, Mayor, councillors and staff, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for providing the answers to my questions in writing. I have one further question, if I may, and I would also like just to provide a short statement at the end.
That's not a problem.
Thank you. My question is, does the City of Wanneroo support the notice of motion being proposed by Councillor May of the City of Joondalup on the 29th of April to close Woodvale Drive?
Does council support
Yes.
Councillor Mays?
Yeah.
Well, council hasn't made a decision on that, and what Joondalup decide to do in their council is their business, and what we decide to do in a council is our business. If that would be brought to council, then council would consider it with the information that comes from it, and we would consider it and then make a decision. But at this point in time, it hasn't been brought to council. Do you have anything further to say, Mr Dixon?
No, only just to reiterate your point, Mayor, that we weren't aware of this motion on notice at this point in time. However, if it is brought to administration's attention, then obviously we'll provide some advice to council. Mayor, if I may, can I just provide a comment for the benefit of the community which seems to be coming here for this proposed development, if that's possible?
Yes, Mr Dixon.
So for the benefit of the community, and I appreciate most of you are here because of the proposed commercial development at the corner of Woodvale Drive and Wanneroo Road. We have received 4 sets of public questions, quite detailed questions, of which one of yours forms a part, and we've provided detailed responses to those questions. But I would like to make it very clear that the city will be making a submission on this proposal, strongly objecting to the development proposed, for many of the reasons that are outlined in the questions that have been raised through those public questions. We don't support an activity centre in this location. It is unplanned. It will impact on the viability of other existing centres, and it does not meet the requirements of State Planning Policy 4.2 on activity centres. It's not orderly and proper planning. They are proposing to bypass the preparation of a structure plan, which is the normal planning process, which would identify the appropriate land uses and form of development. There are significant traffic impacts on Woodvale Drive and the Wanneroo Road intersection, and the network isn't designed to cater for the quantum of traffic that's already using the road, and this will only exacerbate the traffic issues and some of the points that was raised by the previous submitter. The road network and junction are not designed, as I mentioned, for the traffic that's been identified. There are significant environmental concerns. The environmental information that's been submitted with the proposal is weak in our view and needs further information so that we can satisfy ourselves that there won't be any significant environmental concerns. We're also concerned on the impact of Cockman House, which we know is a historic building of great significance, through the excessive scale and commercial appearance of the development that's proposed close to Cockman House. And there are many other detailed reasons that the city will be making in its submission, and also intends to make a deputation when the matter is presented to the West Australian Planning Commission. Rest assured, for those residents that are within the City of Joondalup, we have also been liaising with our colleagues, the Director of Planning at the City of Joondalup, and we share the same concerns as a local authority, as the City of Joondalup. And I also understand that they will be making an objection when the matter is considered by the West Australian Planning Commission. Please also note that we are not the proponent at the City of Wanneroo. nor are we the determining local authority. The determining local authority is the West Australian Planning Commission. We will be making a submission, as I hope that many of the residents will also, if they haven't already, have made a submission, intend to do so. You also have an opportunity to make a deputation when the matter is considered by the West Australian Planning Commission, and if you are feeling strongly, which I know you are, then that opportunity is there for you to do so. I thought it's important to outline that because in the questions that have been raised to us, that wasn't necessarily one of the points, and I wanted to allay any concerns that you have that the city's administration and council, through its consideration of the scheme amendment some time ago, also raised concerns with regard to the proposed development. At no point in time, notwithstanding the planning report that accompanied the development proposal, has the City of Wanneroo supported commercial development on this site. We do not think it is the right location for that form of development. Mayor, with that said, I'll stop now, if that's okay.
Thank you, Mr Dixon. Ms Ritchie, would you like to make a statement?
Just one statement. I'm grateful to the City of Wanneroo for listening to us and for strongly opposing the commercial development that was due to be developed on Woodvale Drive. So thank you very much, Mr Dixon, for your comments. I appreciate those.
Thank you. I've got Janina Jones who wants to come down and read her questions and make a statement. If you could just come down and give me the suburb you live in. Thank you.
Good evening, Honourable Mayor Aitken and councillors. Thank you for making the time for our questions and answers today, and thank you to you all for participating and answering my questions beforehand. My name is Janina Jones and I'm a resident of the Woodvale Private Estate in the City of Wanneroo. I'm here today to ask the questions regarding traffic on Woodvale Drive in relation to the proposed development, and a lot of those questions have been answered by Mr Dixon, so thank you very much for that. I would like to make a statement if that is possible. Thank you. Our family have been Woodvale residents for nearly 30 years. 4 years of that has been living as a resident in the beautiful Woodvale Private Estate. We have been witnessing an increase in traffic activity on Woodvale Drive, also many accidents at both ends of Woodvale Drive. Traffic going home through Woodvale Drive to Regent Waters, Hocking, Pearsall, Wanneroo, and cars speed up and down that hill so fast on Woodvale Drive, it's making it more difficult for us to exit Panzano from our estate, starting from 6 a.m. in the morning when I'm heading down to the beach. So it's making it very difficult and unpleasant to actually leave our area. Woodvale Drive is zoned a local suburban distributor road, and many residents within our community and beyond are troubled by the thought of inviting lots of additional traffic and large commercial distributor vehicles, such as petrol tankers, etc., which will bring future hazards and incidents within the suburban road. I was a casualty nurse and theatre nurse, so safety in Woodvale and on our roads is really important to me. Not only for me, but for our residents. Students often walk that road to and from school. Our elderly residents try to cross that road, which is really busy, to do their morning walk down along Yalagonga National Park. It's profoundly important to me and to many others within our community that this proposal does not go ahead. I strongly disagree with the proposal of this sort of development in the location. Thank you for hearing me tonight.
Thank you, Ms Jones. We're now going to a different topic. Carol Bruck has sent some questions about dogs on leads, the item on tonight's agenda, and they've asked, is Carol here this evening? Do you want me to read the questions out and responses, or do you want to do that? You're happy for me to do that? Okay. If you want to come and take the podium in case you've got any statements you want to make or further, that would be fine. And just give us, confirm your name and the suburb you live in.
Carol Brack, and I live in 1 Mega Street in Wanneroo.
Thank you. Okay. Ms Brack's first question was, how did council consult community members regarding this investigation, given the residential community of Scenic Park area residents had no knowledge of this investigation until this past week? And as such, where did the 56% of City of Wanneroo residents that agreed to this motion come from? The response by Director of Community in Place states the consultation was far broader than just Scenic Park area. In many other parks and reserves in the city. Accordingly, the city consulted with all residents using the city's online Have Your Say facility on the city's website, promoted by social media platforms in July 2024. The survey responses indicated 56% of residents strongly supported the proposal. Question 2. Given council have cited that compulsory dogs on leads motion CP01425 is response to dogs causing environmental harm to local wildlife and habitat, why then have council bitumenised Noan Turtle laying soft sandy grounds around Rotary Park in preparation for bike trails and a bird viewing lookout, and continue to let residential cats roam free, proven more destructive than dogs, while they deny local residents and their well-behaved controlled dogs social interactions and exercise on walks and runs? Importantly, community network opportunities, thereby enhancing good mental health and well-being in our community. The response from the Director of Community in Place states, administration have obtained the required environmental approvals from the Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attractions, Department of Water and Environment Regulation, Department of Planning, Land and Heritage, and that WAPC and the Wadjuk Corporation. The city is installing the footpath to provide safe, continuous, universal access to the new bird viewing structure. The project team will exercise the required monitoring during construction, including turtle nesting season. Should any community members have any ongoing concerns in this regard, they are to contact the Manager of Infrastructure and Capital Works. The Cat Act 2011 does not require cats to be confined, and whilst the city has strengthened its cat local laws in regard to cat nuisance provisions, the city can't create any containment laws, as this would be in conflict with the Cat Act 2011. The Scenic Park area is a high-use area by residents, not just for exercising their dogs, but other activities such as walking, running, cycling and ball sports, which further supports having dogs on lead for everyone's safety. Thank you. Ms Brack, do you have any other questions that you would like to state?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind, please. Can I get some clarification on the 56% of residents that were consulted that apparently agreed to this? And I'm wondering, 56% of how many? Is that like literally 56 people? There's no sort of real clarification there. And as a member of quite a strong dog walking group that uses particularly the Scenic Park area, we've only become aware of this in the last few days, week maybe. So I'm wondering, is it a case of people that have the time to sit and read the city's website on a regular basis, which I might do once or twice a year, or have access to social media, are the only people that actually got to even hear about this? So the people that are actually impacted by this motion, and there's quite a strong community of dog walkers that go down there and let their dogs off on the lead. They play together, they socialise really nicely. And I'm talking families that go down there with their dogs. And being that we're lucky enough to live opposite Scenic Park, so quite often see families there with their dogs running around, kids and dogs running around. We see all the bike riders, see the people flying their kites, etc., etc. And it's wonderful to watch. I really feel that if this motion is passed and that we're no longer allowed to do that with our dogs, it really impacts a lot of people who socialise using their dogs as that sort of medium to go down, and it would be a really sad thing. I also feel that we're really being discriminated against when you consider that in reality environmental harm is rarely committed by dogs. it's the cats and the foxes. I know the city's got a great fox control program, which is fantastic. There's not really a great deal happening to control the cat problem. And yeah, again, it's not the dogs that are doing the harm to our wildlife along any of those sort of areas that fall onto the regional park boundaries. So yeah, it'd be a really sad thing if you did that and took that away from all of those people, many.
Okay, thank you, Ms Brack. Would you like to respond to Ms Brack's statement and questions? Thank you, Ms Davids.
Thank you, Mayor. And through yourself, in response to your question, Ms Brack, and thank you for that, there were 592 people who completed the survey, with a breakdown of 493 being City of Wanneroo residents and 99 people living outside of the City of Wanneroo.
Was that just through the website, Have Your Say? Or is that also, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, you know, have the city gone directly to the source, which is the dog walkers themselves, to ask these questions? Or it's just across, you know, everyone and anyone?
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. Continuing through yourself, we follow the city's community engagement policy as our guide, and that was done through Have Your Say and the social media channels.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms Brack. Do you have another question? Okay. I've now got Christine, I don't have a surname, who wants to come and ask a question, and I don't know which item Christine wants to ask. No, I'm just going through the list of questions if you want to. Christine, if you could just tell us your name and the suburb you live in and then give us your question, okay? Oh, just come down to the podium, thank you.
Sorry about that. My name's Christine Eckley and I live in Woodvale on Woodvale Drive. I actually live on 158 Woodvale Drive, corner of Timberlane Park. And my concern is, sorry, I did have it up. So my concern is also as a homeowner, I've spoken to a lot of homeowners in the street that are getting very nervous and wanting to put their homes up for sale. I've also considered that. And I know that with the proposal of the new construction, it's all going to affect us because of the increase of traffic along Woodvale Drive. Our homes are going to devalue as well. So we're going to lose money if people get scared and sell too quickly or sell too late. So that's another concern. Also, if construction did go through and people's homes did devalued, would they be compensated? Would they be compensated if the road gets widened, they lose some of their driveway? That's also another concern for the homeowners in the area. Another concern of mine was driving to work on Monday morning, 5:30, heading towards Woodvale Drive to Wanneroo Road to turn left, and there was a poor dead kangaroo that was hit and left on the side of the road. And we are seeing a lot more of kangaroos being hit by vehicles down Duffy Terrace and Woodvale Drive. So obviously the conservation of Yellowgonga, the parks and the wildlife will be affected, and we can already see that with the traffic chaos. So yeah, that's... Sorry, everybody said the same thing today. So, but I do know if you look at Google Maps and you're coming from Whitfords and you want to get to Wanneroo, it takes you through Woodvale Drive because you save 8 minutes. And that's also the problem as well. People sit on Google Maps and, hey, there's a shortcut because there's no traffic lights. So that's another concern. So, yeah, question is, will people be compensated if their homes are devalued in Woodvale Drive?
Thank you, Ms Eckley. Mr Dixon.
Through you, Mayor. So there are certain matters that are considered relevant planning considerations in looking at a proposal, and there are certain matters that are not. Through test cases and law, the value of an individual's property as a result of a planning decision that's been made is not a valid planning consideration. So even if residents, and I can understand your concern, I'm not devaluing what you're saying, however, through planning law and in consideration of that matter, it won't be considered by the West Australian Planning Commission as part of their consideration of this proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms Eckley. I've got next Laura Nigro. And if you could come down, identify, give us your name, the suburb you live in, and which item you're speaking to. Thank you.
Yes, hi, my name is Laura Negro of Nanati Way. I've been living in Wanneroo for over 25 years. I'm here today, again, it's about the dogs off the lead. Like my friend Carol said, we only recently become aware of this. And for example, I started a petition, and within only an hour, I was able to have over 52 signatures of dog owners that are concerned about this ban on off-lead. I've been here for over, like I said, over 25 years, but I used to keep my horses here, so I've been around Wanneroo for about, since the late 80s. And I've never seen a dog really carrying a turtle on their necks or creating problems. I think the problem comes from a small group of individuals that are irresponsible dog owners that do not train the dog and they just allow them to do whatever they want. And to just ban all other dogs to be off lead where they can actually play and interact and be healthy, I think it's it's very wrong. So perhaps if you can allow us a little bit more time to gather more signatures to support these decisions so that we can still continue to exercise our dogs off lead. I'd just like to give you very briefly a couple of examples. For example, there's some people that are unwell, so they cannot walk fast enough for the dogs. So they have to allow the dogs to be off lead so they can exercise properly. I spoke with a gentleman, he had a 3-legged dog. He cannot walk fast enough to keep up with the dog. On the other hand, sometimes there is older dogs who cannot keep up with their owners and they need to walk off lead, to walk very slow. So I really hope that the City of Wanneroo can consider not to ban the dogs off lead. Thank you. And to give us more time, perhaps, to gather some more evidence of dogs not harming the environment. We already start to take photos of dogs off lead not harming the environment, and perhaps to allow us more time to continue with our signatures. Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you, Ms Negro. Ms Davis, would you like to respond to the questions and the statement?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ms Negro. Through the Mayor, just to provide a little bit of context about some of the responses through the community consultation, the comments provided suggested that dogs on lead, unless the area is fenced and a nominated exercise area, there was evidence that there were ineffective control of those that were off lead, and other responses suggested that owners were not taking responsibility of their dogs. So those were some of the comments that we received as part of the consultation that helped form the administration's recommendation through to council for this particular location, given that it is a high-use, high-traffic area. But also, in making that recommendation to council, we did identify all the other areas where dogs are permitted to be off lead. Kingsway Sporting Complex, Gunblossom Reserve, Frederick Dray Stubbs in Quinns Rock, the Wanneroo Showgrounds, beach reserves, except in designated areas, Lot 124 in Maringinia, and coastal walkways and pedestrian access ways and foreshores are also dogs off lead.
Thank you. Can I just add a small comment? I agree there is a lot of irresponsible dog owners. Now, those individuals will continue to not follow the rules, regardless if this is passed or not. The people that actually already follow the rules by picking up the droppings, putting the dog on the lead when we are on the footpath, making sure they don't chase any other animals, they are the ones that are actually going to suffer. So I also understand that the City of Wanneroo is proposing $20,000 for new signage for this proposal. And as someone that pays the Wanneroo Shire, I would like to see that money perhaps invested in something different, like perhaps planting more trees or more education. But, you know, I mean, that's the way I stand, and I believe there's quite a lot of other people that stands with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Negro. I will take that as a statement. Do you have a clarification? Do you? Yes. Councillor Herridge.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering if the residents have only become aware of this item from this particular agenda. They may not have seen the specific maps and the areas that are in comparison to this. It may be prudent for the director to take it offline with the residents to actually clarify the specific areas that this is attached to, that it's not a blanket area to Scenic Park. There may be a bit of a gap in the communication of what it actually is for.
Thank you, Councillor Herridge. Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mayor, and yes, we will take that on notice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, in my list here, I have 2 Frank Williams. Are there 2 Frank Williams in the chamber, or is there only 1 Frank Williams? So I'll take that as 1 Frank Williams in the chamber, even though his name's down twice. Frank, would you like to come down and state your name, which we know is Frank Williams, and what suburb you live in, please? Thank you. And which item you'd like to speak to. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. My name is Frank Williams. I live in Wanneroo. I'm hoping to make a statement on behalf of the dog lead issue. There's quite a few of us, and we got together and put this together. This is a response to the Perth Now article on April the 10th, 25. It outlined a proposal by the City of Wanneroo to ban off-the-lead dogs in 20 of the 28 local reserves and parks. The rationale appears to be the belief that dogs off-lead pose a risk to wildlife, with plans to spend $20,000 relating to signage. As a group of regular, responsible dog walkers, we feel this approach is unjustified and misdirected. In our collective experience, off-lead dogs under effective control have not posed a threat to local wildlife. We've never seen dogs attack long-necked turtles, but we have seen human behaviour causing harm. People disturbing the nests, littering with non-biodegradable materials, damaging habitats through tree removal, applying possibly harmful herbicides and reckless driving through the reserves. Meanwhile, large-scale planned developments, sports fields and recreational infrastructure pose a far greater environmental impact than dogs. We acknowledge that the irresponsible dog owners exist, but they are a minority, and signage will not change their behaviour. Punishing responsible dog owners who already follow the rules is unfair and counterproductive. Our group meets daily around 5 p.m, 7 days a week, and this is a regular gathering. It's become a vital social event for many in our community. The heart of this gathering is the interaction between our dogs, free to move and play, and exercise, which naturally brings people together. Enforcing a leash-only policy will significantly disrupt the routine and, in effect, make the gathering impossible. This is not only a space for dog owners, but also a welcoming spot for others in the community Passers-by with or without dogs often stop for a chat or to sit on the bench. Children regularly approach to pat the dogs, many of which they know by name. This sense of community, built around shared trust and open interaction, will be diminished if our dogs are no longer able to engage freely. In our experience as responsible dog owners, dogs tend to display more protective or defensive behaviour when restrained on leads, whereas off-lead they are generally more relaxed and sociable. We believe that enforcing this proposal could unintentionally increase tension amongst dogs and detract from the safe, friendly environment that currently exists. We urge that the City of Wanneroo to consider alternative uses for the proposed $20,000, such as tree planting, which was mentioned earlier, educational programmes, or wildlife protection initiatives. More importantly, we ask that the City continue to allow off-lead dogs under effective control rather than implementing a blanket ban that doesn't address the root cause of the environmental harm. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Williams. Thank you. Councillor Miles, you have a clarification?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. From Mr Williams, actually. Mr Williams, when you did your deputation and you were talking about Scenic Drive, there are 3 parks listed on Scenic Drive. So when you talk about Scenic Drive, are you talking about the Rotary Park, the Scenic Park, or the Lake Joondalup Park on Scenic Drive?
I'm not sure.
Mr Williams?
Sorry?
Which park, Mr Williams?
It's Scenic Park. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we've got another 2 questions from the floor, and we've got Daniel Kingston. If you could come and take the podium and give us the suburb you come from. And I acknowledge Daniel Kingston is a councillor from the City of Joondalup. Thank you, Mr Kingston.
Thank you. My name is Daniel Kingston. I live in Scarp Close in Edgewater. So my questions are on the rezoning of lot 900 on Woodvale Drive and the proposed mixed-use commercial centre. My first question is, did the City of Wanneroo support the WAPC concurrently amending District Planning Scheme 2 when the MRS amendment was considered?
Mr Dixon.
Through you, Mayor, administration, not council, provided its comments with regard to the Metropolitan Region Scheme amendment. Those comments identified that they didn't object, administration didn't object to the rezoning of the land from rural to urban, but had significant concerns with regard to some forms of commercial development that was at the time proposed by the proponent.
Thank you, Mr Dixon. Mr Kingston, do you have another question?
Thank you. So on page 3 and 15 of the SDAU's application, so this is the applicant's planning report, it states that discussions of a commercial centre on the subject site have been held with the City of Wanneroo since March 2023. The City's officers have not raised any fundamental concerns with the proposal and the land use more broadly. Instead, they have provided beneficial and constructive advice and feedback along the way. So my questions on this statement are, from the applicant's planning report, is firstly, did the City officers raise any concerns with the applicant and their application that the district planning scheme requires a structure plan for the site before any development should occur?
Mr Dixon.
Through you, Mayor, yes, I can confirm that at no point has the City's administration ever supported any commercial development on that site. The report that is provided, the planning report that supports the application that's been made to the SDAU indicates that the City had no significant concerns. That isn't true. The City has raised a number of concerns in meeting with the proponent, particularly around commercial development of their site.
Thank you, Mr Dixon. Mr Kingston.
Thank you. Further to that, did the City officers raise any concerns with the applicant and their application in relation to the EPA determination date of the 4th of March 2024, which stated that there should be further refinement of the land uses that are implemented under the MRS urban zone rather than commercial development and that commercial uses may impact social amenity, environmental and heritage values. So did the city advise the applicant of any of those concerns raised by the EPA?
I understand
Mr Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I understand from my colleague that the city did pass on the EPA's concerns to the proponent.
Thank you. Mr Kingston, you have another question?
Thank you. Another one is, did the city officers raise any concerns with the applicant and their application that the Department of Health position statement for service stations and sensitive land uses states that there should be a separation distance of 50 or 100 metres from childcare centres? And of course, the applicant is proposing a service station in close proximity, almost adjacent, to a proposed childcare use. Was that advice to the applicant?
Mr Dixon.
Mayor, well, that's a very detailed question. I'll take that question on notice because I wasn't a part of the meetings, but I'll provide information to Mr Kingston on that point.
Thank you, Mr Dixon. Do you have another question, Mr Kingston?
Yes, thank you. Further, did the city officers raise any concerns with the applicant and their application that the proposed uses are inconsistent with the council-approved local planning strategy? That is, that there are activity centre uses outside of an activity centre. So was that advised to the applicant?
As I'll reiterate,
Mr Dixon.
Mayor, through you, as I will reiterate, that the city at no point has supported a commercial development on this site. I'm not sure there's much further I can provide.
Yep.
Mr Kingston.
Thank you. And then further, a similar question. Did the city officers raise any concerns with the applicant and their application that the Yellowgonga Regional Park Management Plan gazetted under the Conservation and Land Management Act, Part 24, states that structure planning should be completed for areas surrounding the park and that it gives that task to the Department of Planning, the City of Joondalup and the City of Wanneroo? So were any of those concerns related to the applicant?
Mr Dixon.
As I've mentioned before, Mayor, the zoning of the land as urban development requires the preparation of a local structure plan that would identify the appropriate land uses and development of the site. The proponent has not prepared a local structure plan and has chosen to go down the significant development assessment pathway and indicated that they do not intend to prepare a structure plan. That's contrary to the city's district planning scheme, but is allowable under the regulations, the planning and development regulations.
Thank you, Mr Dixon. Mr Kingston, you have another question?
Just a final question, then a statement. Given that the city's officer has said that the statement in the applicant's planning report is untrue, that the City of Wanneroo did not raise any fundamental concerns, will that be forming part of their submission to the SDAU to correct that statement?
Mr Dixon.
Through you, Mayor, yes, in short. I'm concerned that they're raising statements that aren't factually accurate. The city has raised concerns with regard to the proposed commercial development and has at no point supported commercial development on that site.
Thank you. Mr Kingston, you have had 3 minutes and 3 seconds and you have 3 minutes for your deputation. Councillors, do you wish to hear his deputation and go ahead? Should we go ahead with that? I will give you 1 minute for your deputation. Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Kingston?
That's acceptable. I can do it in one. Thank you for listening to the concerns of the residents and, of course, engaging over the last 12 months on this issue. It's really important that there is a refusal of this application. And, of course, going back, if you remember when we were dealing with the MRS amendment and then the DPS amendment, one of the concerns I did raise was that if the DPS was amended, then the City of Wanneroo loses control. That at that point, there can be a planning application, there can be a structure plan put in by the applicant. So, of course, that was an issue I raised 12 months ago. So when it was concurrently amended and the city didn't refuse that, it did sort of place us in this situation where it gave many options to the applicant. So I just encourage that if we can get a refusal, that we try hard for the city to commence a structure plan. And of course, that's the process which is recommended in the Yellowgonga Regional Park Management Plan, that the city should structure plan for these sites adjacent to the regional park.
Thank you, Mr. Kingston. Mr. Dixon, would you like an opportunity to respond to that deputation or not?
Mayor, again, I'll just reiterate the points that the site and the land is now zoned urban development. That triggers the need for a structure plan under the normal planning process to be prepared that will then guide appropriate land uses. So for the benefits of the residents in the audience, what that means is the land will not remain as native vegetation. Some form of urban development will occur on that land from the proponent. The appropriate question now is what form of development should take place on that land. I think in the city's submission, the likelihood is that we will be making representations to consider an appropriate form of development would be low-density residential development, which would have less of an impact on the road network in terms of traffic increases, but also would enable the retention of some of the native vegetation that exists on the site. It's not reasonable for either council or the local community to consider that there will be no development. So it's really about now trying to identify what form of development is the most appropriate and sympathetic for that site.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Dixon. Thank you, Mr Kingston. We have, Councillor Miles, you have a point of clarification.
Just a clarification to Councillor Kingston and possibly the other Woodvale residents, Mayor. I'd just like to ask, have they addressed this matter with the local member who, as this is a state administrative process, and can you refer what that discussion was?
Mr Kingston.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we've had a number of conversations with the local member for Kingsley, Jessica Stoikovsky. We first engaged with her back in 2024 when the DPS amendment was being considered. She is aware of the issues. She has been considering carefully the traffic implications, especially now with her new responsibilities as the Assistant Minister for Transport. And I know that she attended the community meeting that we held about a month ago on the Sunday, and that she's aware of the issues, and that I can't speak to a personal point of view. She's made the statement that as a member of Parliament, she needs to be neutral on matters that are before the SDAU, given her position as a minister. So that's the statement she's made, but I think she has concerns with the development, if that's acceptable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now go to, I've got Agneta McInnes from Yanchep News Online. She has a question. Have you got a question on the... It's written here, Anita McGee. Maybe it's your attendance. Have you got a question, Anita? Okay, we'll put you on the attendance record instead of the question record, okay? Are there any other questions from the floor that anybody would like to ask? Yes, now, I'm trying to work out your name without having to go. Is that Mr Murphy?
It's Martin Murphy.
Mr Murphy, yes,
31
Mr Murphy.
Woodvale Drive.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing just one last question. It's, Mayor, it's in relation to the traffic calming, which we all had letters on to say it's going to go ahead. I did have a conversation with one of the engineers on the 18th of December who said to me that things are moving. The surveying has been done within the next number of months, sort of June, July. Works may well start underground. And then toward the end of the year, the physical works of the centre reservation and the 100 mil raised section would go ahead. And another point he said to me was that the reversing bays and verges that we have would remain in perpetuity. I guess that's if it's left as a local distributor road. So I guess it's a question, is that still on? Are we still on course for that? And that's it, thank you.
Mr Singh, would you be able to respond to that question? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, traffic management scheme is going to go ahead. It is subject to obviously the budget allocations for next two financial years. Yeah, we've done the community engagement. Community engagement has supported the proposal we put out, and then it's now a matter of finalizing the designs and constructing over next two financial years.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further questions from the gallery, I go to item 4, which is confirmation of minutes, which is moved by... Oh, we have another question. Yes, if you'd like to come down to the podium, give us your name and suburb you live in. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Steve Brack. I'm part of Wanneroo Shire. I live in the Shire of Wanneroo. I want to point out or ask a question about the clear discrimination between cat owners and dog owners with this keeping them on a lead. Cats are prolific hunter-killers and allowed to roam freely, yet my well-behaved dog under my supervision is not allowed off a lead. It's just clear discrimination.
Thank
Who's
you.
going to answer?
Ms Davis, do you want to make a comment on that?
Through yourself, Mayor, I suppose as was provided before, the Cat Act 2011 does not provide the city any delegated authority to respond to cats that roam at the moment. I am aware that there's a lot of councils around the Perth Metro that are advocating quite heavily in this space, and perhaps there might be change in the future, but as it stands, we're guided by the Cat Act 2011 to respond to that one.
So it's discriminatory. Clear discrimination, isn't it? I'm a dog owner and my pet has to be on a lead.
That's outside of our control.
Okay, yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr Brack. We now go to item 4, confirmation of minutes, moved by Councillor Herridge, seconded by Councillor Smith. Councillor Herridge, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify and make a change to the minutes if we possibly can. The petition for the Lansdale Primary School parking issues was presented by Councillor Nguyen. If we can just have that rectified in the minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smith, would you like to speak to the confirmation? Any speakers against? If there are no speakers against, councillors, please cast your vote. There's 11 here. Councillor Bedworth and Councillor Parker. And that's passed unanimously. So announcements by the Mayor without discussion. Gold Water-Wise re-endorsement. The City has once again been recognised as a Gold Water-Wise Council for the 5th year in a row. This accolade from the Water-Wise Councils program, a collaboration between the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation and the Water Corporation, highlights our unwavering dedication to sustainable water management. Achieving gold status is no small feat and involves the hard work of many teams, including strategic land use planning and environment, land development, assets planning, assets maintenance, and parks and conservation management. So congratulations to the team for that Gold Wise Award. We now have some sad news, but I'm really pleased with the promotion. Greg Bowering, who joined us in March 2019 as Manager of Approval Services and has been a core member of our planning department, is leaving. His efforts have led to streamlined business planning and applications through the Small Business Friendly Initiative, winning the Master Builders Association LGA Team of the Year 2021, winning the Planning Institute of Australia Team of the Year Band 1 Councils, simplifying our local planning framework, including normalising the zoning of many structure plan areas and overseeing over 10,000 development applications, 26,000 building applications, 770 subdivisions and 177 local development plans. Are you tired, Greg? Greg, your presence at council meetings and your invaluable advice will be greatly missed. We wish you all the best in your new role as Director at the City of Kwinana, and we thank you for everything you've done for us here at the City of Wanneroo. Thank you. And I've got a welcome for new managers that are coming on board. Aaron McNish has stepped into the role of Manager Fleet Services on the 7th of April 2025. Aaron brings a wealth of experience from his previous position as Manager of Assets with the City of Nedlands. We've also got Claire Risson, who's sitting in the chamber tonight, who will join us as Manager of Corporate Governance and Council Services on the 28th of April 2025. With over 20 years of experience, including 10 in senior leadership roles, Claire is sure to be a fantastic addition to our team. Welcome, Claire. And Liz Kruger will start as Manager of Cultural Development on the 2nd of June 2025. Liz has been with us since 2018 and has a strong background in community development from her time here at the City of Wanneroo and previously at the City of Joondalup. Congratulations to Aaron, Claire and Liz. And we're excited to see the positive impact you'll all bring to our city. Thank you. Item 8, do we have any questions from council members? If there are no questions from council members, I go to item 7, petitions. There are no petitions this evening. Item 8, I go to reports. Declarations of interest by council members, including the nature and extent of which the interests are to be made at the commencement of the item to which the interest relates. Declarations of interest forms are to be completed and handed in to the Chief Executive Officer. I declare that I have an indirect financial interest in PSO 1 0425 and PSO 2 425 and will be leaving the chamber during the discussion of these two items. In accordance with section 5.63 of the Local Government Act 1995, council is to choose one of the councillors present to preside the meeting during my absence from the chamber. I would like to ask for nominations of those council members who are willing to preside the meeting during my absence. The acting chairperson must be present in the chamber. Okay, councillors, Councillor Miles has been nominated. Could we please vote to say yes or no for this, please? And that's supported unanimously. And Councillor Miles will take the chair at 2 minutes past 7. Thank you.
Okay, new page. Okay, we're just going to go. Okay, council, are we on? Okay, councillors, item PSO 1425. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Huntley is moving, seconded by Councillor Coetzee. Are there any questions or any matters arising from this particular item? Do you wish to speak on this item, Councillor Huntley?
No, thank you.
If that's the case, and the seconder doesn't wish to either, so I now put the item. All those in favour of PSO 10425, please cast your vote. Okay, councillors, that as per the register, 9 people voted for it, 1 councillor voted against it. That's Councillor Nguyen. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item. That is passed.
Sorry, can I just ask a question? So what was shown on the screen, is that going to reflect that your vote was under Mayor Aikens? Does that make sense, just for the record?
No, it will be changed for my vote to be cast as affirmative.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillors, PSO 2 0425, can I have a mover and a seconder on this item? I see Councillor Huntley is moving this item. Councillor Parker is seconding the item. Councillor Huntley, do you wish to speak for this item?
No, thank you.
Councillor Parker, do you wish to speak?
Just very briefly, happy to support as this amendment is required by the state government and is, in my opinion, an improvement on the scheme. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Does anybody wish to ask any questions on this item? There are no questions asked. I will now put this item to council. All those in support? Oh, thank you, Councillor Nguyen. All 10 are in support, thank you. And with that, I will now ask for Mayor Aiken to be returned to the meeting. Do I have to move that? No, she just comes back. Yeah, she just comes back.
Well, I return at 7:05 p.m. I think that's the quickest two things that we've ever done, isn't it? Which is good. Okay, we now go to assets with Strategic Asset Management, ASO 10425, Ashby Operations Centre, Master Plan and Staging. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Councillor Miles has a procedural motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a procedural motion 7.5 to refer it back to administration, for administration and the CEO to bring forward a plan and the design for a northern depot, and also for him to have talks with the Department of Lands on possible land swap for the depot to another site. And I just, yep, that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Do you have a seconder for the procedural motion? Councillor Huntley. So therefore we go straight to the vote. So councillors, cast your vote whether we return this item for more information. Councillor Miles, when will it be returned? Do you have a date, a time frame for it to be returned?
I'm quite happy for it to come back in December of this year. I think the administration can pretty much pull that material together. I understand the CEO's already got a meeting lined up with the department, so we will wait to hear back.
Thank you. Councillors, cast your vote. That one's me. And I declare the procedural motion is passed with 8 supporting it and 3 against. Those supporting it are myself, Councillor Nguyen, Councillor Huntley, Councillor Bedworth, Councillor Parker, Councillor Miles, Councillor Berry and Councillor Coetzee. Those against are Councillor Seave, Councillor Herridge and Councillor Smith. We now go to ASO 20425, RFQ 24201, Design and Construction of Toilet Block at Emery Park, Hocking. There are confidential attachments which, if we need to speak to them, we'll have to go behind closed doors. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved Councillor Miles, seconded Councillor Huntley. Councillor Miles, would you like to speak to this item, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, the report pretty much articulates the need and requirements of the service that we're wanting to put in there, and this is just going to go out for a normal e-quote, I understand. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Huntley, do you want to speak to this item?
Only that this is long in the waiting, and I'm sure people will be very relieved.
Thank you. Any speakers against this item? If there are no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that item is passed unanimously. We now go to ASO 30225, the E-quote 25008 for consultancy services for concept and detailed designs for waste transfer station, customer recycling centre and materials handling facility at Neerabutt Resource Recovery Precinct. There are confidential attachments. If anyone wants to speak to the confidential attachments, we will have to go behind closed doors. Do I have a mover and seconder for this? Moved, Councillor Miles. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Seif. Councillor Miles, would you like to speak to this item?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, Council, this is a very vital piece of work that is required to be approved for our waste services team and our planning teams to get on with the process of the City of Wanneroo getting its own waste depot and other materials that need to be sorted within that. Mindarie Regional Landfill Site is fast approaching the closing stages for landfill, and I think as a council this is a good step forward to give a clear notice to the residents that we are moving forward and we're not waiting for the site to be closed before we then start to do any processes. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Miles. Councillor Seif, would you like to speak to this item?
Just briefly to say that I agree that this is very important and I'm glad that it's moving forward, and I look forward to seeing what administration do in terms of creating circular economies and all of those great things with waste.
Thank you, Councillor Seif. Do I have any speakers against this item? If there are no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that was passed unanimously. I now go to ASO 425, Welga E-quote 25006, cleaning and CCTV inspection of stormwater pollutant traps and other drainage infrastructure. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? And once again, there are confidential papers about this. If we need to speak to the confidential papers, we will have to go behind closed doors. Mover and seconder. Moved, Councillor Huntley, seconded. Councillor Parker. Okay, Councillor Huntley, do you want to speak to this?
Only that this is a very important thing to occur. This CCTV inspection of stormwater pollutant traps does allow a quick ability to see what is going on, and also saves time for the people and risk with them having to either inspect these stormwaters manually. So this is something that should happen, and yeah, I hope everyone will support it.
Thank you. Councillor Parker, would you like to speak to this item?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Are there any speakers against this item? If there are no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that was passed unanimously. We now go to Community in Place, item CP01 425, Dogs on Lead in Nature Reserves. This item requires an absolute majority. Do you have a question, Councillor Smith?
A procedural motion to adjourn for 10 minutes to discuss this.
Do you have a seconder for the procedural motion? Councillor Coetzee. Okay, councillors, please cast your vote to adjourn for 10 minutes, and that will be, I'll determine the time. Okay, we will adjourn for 10 minutes. So 10 minutes will be finished at 7:24. Thank you, councillors. So the meeting now resumes at 7:24 p.m. Councillors, do I have a mover and seconder for dogs on lead in nature reserves? Okay, I moved Councillor Miles, seconded Councillor Herridge. Councillor Miles, do you want to speak to this item?
Thank you, Mayor. I think the report pretty much articulates why Council went down this path. This is not the first time it's come towards Council. It was here last year for it to go out for consultation. It then came back to Council. There were some changes to it, and then I think there was some further action by administration in the later half of the year, and now it's come back to us here for ratification. So I'm quite happy with the report. I do understand the dog owners' concern, but maybe we can look at something else a bit later on. Maybe there needs to be a dog park or something like that on that area where it will protect the natural environment, the turtles and the other wildlife, and people can actually then have their dogs running around in an enclosed area. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Miles. Councillor Herridge, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, just to say thanks to admin for bringing this report through. I think everyone did take on board what was said in chambers tonight by our residents, and we can all sympathise. I think we do also need to remember that we did extensive consult over an extensive period of time. So the amount of people and the residents that actually got to have a say, it's sad and unfortunate that these particular residents didn't hear about it, but maybe that's a learning that we can take from that for our own processes to ensure that we do go a little bit wider to encompass those kinds of people, because they're obviously a dog walking group that does something like that every day. But I'm quite happy with the report to put through. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Herridge. Do I have any speakers against, or is this questions?
It's questions and also be speaking against the item.
Okay, well, can you... Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Nguyen. Your questions first.
Yes, I couldn't find a map that I think someone was referred to earlier on attachment 1 indicating the particular area. I've got a list that's on attachment 1. Was there another map?
Ms Davis?
Thank you, Councillor, and through the Mayor, when I refer back to the council minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of December 2024, when this item first came before council for decision before it went out to community consultation, it did include all the maps of the areas that have been nominated in the current report.
Okay.
On page 857 of those minutes.
Thank you. Do you have another question, Councillor Nguyen?
So if this item was passed, of the 20 specified nature reserves, also of the 28, 20 will be prohibited for dogs off lead. The effect of that, is that right?
Ms Davis?
Continuing through the Mayor, that is the intent of this report. Thank you, Councillor.
Yes.
Councillor Nguyen, do you have another question?
I do. Just the cost, you put in an estimate of 20,000. Are there any other ongoing costs that you could anticipate?
Ms Davis?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor, for the question. The report does indicate the $20,000 for signage and community education, which can obviously bring those reports, so my apologies, those maps back into that education program and reach out to the wider community, as has been discussed tonight. What hasn't been included is the reactive and the quantified workforce that is required to respond to this issue currently. It is quite difficult for us to respond to in a reactive manner without there being some regulation in place currently. So those workforce costs are not included in the current report.
Thank you. And do you have another question,
I
Councillor
do.
Nguyen?
Can you just remind me in terms of the consultation, that's been done in relation to all these areas. What were they? So it was letter drops, online, anything else?
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor. The City's engagement policy has guided the process that was undertaken, which was to reach out to the community via the online platform that we have for a specified period of time.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Nguyen?
So, yes, just to clarify, so it was only online and there was no mail out, and the total number of response, because we only got the percentage there.
Ms Davis.
Thank you. Continuing through the Mayor, that is correct. It was advertised only through social media. As you can anticipate, reaching members, the dog walking community for where they may walk their dogs versus where they may live, a letter drop was not appropriate form of engagement for this particular project and activity. The engagement was open from the 15th of July 2024 through to the 11th of August 2024. Just reiterating, it was 592 people who did complete that survey. Of that, nearly 500 of them, 493, were City of Wanneroo residents, or 83%. 99 of those people lived outside the City of Wanneroo, which is 17%. Within the results of the survey, less than 10% actually supported remaining with dogs off lead. So there was a resounding evidence, strong or very strong support for the item that's in front of you today.
Yes. And
Thank you. You have another question?
Just a follow-up on that, of the people who were in Wanneroo, did they indicate if were they dog or cat owners?
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor. Without actually pulling up the original survey that was online, there is no mention of that question being responded to in the consultation summary that was provided as part of the report.
Thank you. Do you have another question, Councillor Nguyen?
No, I'll speak against the item, and thank you so much for the information. That hasn't changed, I guess, my intention to vote against this item, because this is a drastic change to the current arrangement, which I think is quite balanced, and to increase the number of reserves from 9 to 20, that seems to affect a lot more owners than I would think is required, and the main concern, it seems to be, that is to protect our wildlife. I don't know where our dogs are going to exercise freely if these nature reserves to ban dogs off lead. You mentioned earlier that it's not clear whether dogs would be walked within the area where they live or within somewhere. Most of the time, dogs be walked in close proximity to where the dog owner would be. They wouldn't be driven somewhere far unless it has some sort of facility there. This is a so to speak, blanket ban, but not just that. There are some concerns that have been raised by our residents that they didn't get the item earlier, and they're speaking against it. So we can't simply ignore and say, well, it's too late, we didn't hear you. Well, they came here and raised their concerns. And the least we can do is say, well, okay, we noticed that our consultation process was ineffective, it wasn't enough, and we should consider these concerns right now, because it is information that we have, not just in the report, but there are many residents that came here that's raised concerns, and I would like to know those concerns before I vote on this item and how that would affect the existing dog owners. I am a dog owner myself, and I think while I do consider there are wildlife protection that we need to do, and in other protective areas, dogs that can't walk off lead sometimes can be frustrated, anxious, and destructive at homes. So to give dogs the freedom to roam certain areas will result in happier, more relaxed dogs. There are ways to effectively control dogs rather than just a blanket ban. So to provide a space for dogs to roam freely without a blanket ban is important for all dogs owners. So I would be voting against it, but certainly will support any motion that would be put forward to defer this for further consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Ms Davis, did you have a comment you wish to make?
Thank you, Mayor. I just would like to provide a response to the councillor's former question regarding whether they were dog owners and cat owners, and I have just pulled up from the Ordinary Council meeting 10 December 2024, the minutes, attachment 2 on page 872, which has the survey provided in the minutes, and there is no question to allude whether that is possible for us to understand.
Thank you. Do I have any speakers for this item? Councillor Seif has a question.
Thank you, Mayor. Does the city's community consultation policy allow for a print advertisement to be put in the community newspaper?
Ms Davis.
Through the Mayor, and thank you, Councillor, for your question. The policy is available, as you're very well aware. It outlines when consultation is and isn't suitable for periods of time, when it is and when it's not. It is actually supported by a framework that is available for officers to guide them on when the most appropriate form of engagement is most suitable, and print is one of those mechanisms for engagement.
Thank you, Ms Davis. Is this a question, because we need to go for a speaker for first? Is this a question? Okay, question, and then we'll go for a speaker for, if you do your question, Councillor C.
Thank you, Mayor. So why was there not? My concern is just that for some people who are not online, and that dogs are companions for a lot of elderly people who are not online. So why was this not put into print with the community consultation?
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor. It was determined that it was very difficult for us to understand where these dog walkers were primarily coming from, because as you can understand, many dog walkers come from outside of the city as well. So doing a generic letter drop within a particular radius of an area was both going to be costly and deemed ineffective for this exercise.
Is that another question, Councillor C?
It's just a clarification. I'm not referring to an expensive letter drop. I'm referring to print advertising in like the Hello Perth or Community Perth Now or local newspaper.
Okay, Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. And as my colleague has just effectively reminded me that this is a resolution that requires an absolute majority of council. So under that regulation, we are bound to provide a notice in the paper in writing as well of the consultation. So that did occur. Apologies that that hasn't been provided in the item.
Yeah. Okay, a speaker for the item. Did you want to speak for Councillor Berry? I noticed you had your hand up.
I've got some questions, that's all, not to speak for or against at this stage.
I'll do some questions, then I'll go to Councillor Parker to speak for.
Thank you. So one of my questions is on page 209, it says that we've already got 8 areas where dogs are currently prohibited. Is that 8 included on attachment 1? or is this an additional 20, so we're going to have 28 areas in total, is my first question.
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. That is correct, as I understand it.
Okay,
Councillor Berry.
So it'll be 28 areas impacted, okay. And when would we look to start this, given that it also says we're going to need extra ranger services, and how many extra ranger services are we going to need to patrol all these reserves to ensure that people are compliant? Thank you.
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor, for your question. The Ranger Services currently provide a reactive service, so the additional workload for this is primarily going to be absorbed within the current resource requirements, with the financial impact to increase the community education and signage to help manage this new service.
Thank you.
And then 2 more questions.
Yeah.
Did any of the questions in the survey cover the age of the respondents? So it covered older people that probably wouldn't necessarily be on the net or Facebook or look at our posts?
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor, for your question. The survey does not ask that question.
Another question, Councillor
Yeah,
Berry.
my last question. If we are concerned as to where we're going to reach dog owners and like letter drops were not appropriate, was it ever considered that we just put a notice at the start of the dog parks or the walks so people could actually see that this is what we're proposing, and we would aim at the people that are walking their dogs and they would have been able to respond? Because I don't feel personally that 493 responses would be proportionate of all the dogs across, or dog owners across the city of Wanneroo. Thank you.
Ms Davis, do you have a response to that?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor. That's noted. Thank you.
Now, it looks like this is a question and answer session. So before I go for speaking to, which Councillor Parker is next to speak to the item, are there any more questions about this item? Not statements, not debate, just straight out questions. Sinette, did you have a question? Councillor Coetzee, I should say.
So that's okay. I do have a question. Do we have the numbers of exactly how many residents or people uses these parks? And the other question would be, do we have any data of how much of the nature or other dog attacks there were?
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Mayor, it is very difficult for the city to determine the usage of the public open spaces with the current resources and infrastructure that's available to us, as your first question. In response to your second question, in my short time at the city, we have received a number of customer complaints that come through and queries for us to follow up on various dog attacks, but I don't have those numbers exactly in front of me right now.
Thank you. Councillor Bedworth, you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to wind back to something through yourself, Mayor, something that was said earlier about the percentages of respondents and whether they supported it or not. I heard 10% were only in support of this. I may have heard it wrong, but in the report I see 56% of the 493 were in support of these restrictions, so that should mean 44% were not in favour of it. Would that be correct?
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Councillor. Continuing through the Mayor, my apologies for not being clearer on that. Of those that strongly and very strongly supported this recommendation, they made up the 88%, and it was the 10% that neither agreed or disagreed with the proposal. So just confirming, as is outlined in the consultation comment, 56% of the residents were strongly supported this proposal, compared to 33% that lived outside of the city of Wanneroo, and 10% neither agreed nor disagreed.
Councillor Bedworth.
I'm just a bit confused then, because looking at the bottom of page 208, it says notes community consultation have evidenced limited support for revoking the dog exercise area and the figure 56%. There's no 88% in this report that I can see currently.
Mrs Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll read from the community consultation that was provided in the 10 December 2024 minutes, which outlines the results that were presented to Council to seek your approval to go through with community consultation to publicly advertise. So the community, I'm on page 850 of those minutes. The community engagement was conducted from the 15th of July 2024 to the 11th of August 2024 and was advertised through social media. There were 592 people who completed the survey with a breakdown as follows: 493 City of Wanneroo residents, or 83%, 99 people living outside of the City of Wanneroo, or 17%. The results from the residents were supportive of the dogs being on leads in the 28 reserves where cats are prohibited. 56% of the City of Wanneroo residents were strongly supported or supported this proposal, compared to 33% of people living outside of the City of Wanneroo. There was an additional 10% that neither agreed nor disagreed with the proposal. And those consultation results were provided in attachment 2.
Thank you. You have another question, Councillor Bedworth.
Yeah, sorry, again, it's probably me being thick, but 56% of the City of Wanneroo residents who responded it supported it, which to me would suggest that 44% of the City of Wanneroo residents who did not support it. I'm struggling to get the figures here. You know, it's here in black and white on the agenda for tonight's meeting. I don't have the 10th of December's agenda in front of me or minutes. I can only go off what's in front of me here, and I'm just seeing that 56% supported revoking it. Would I be wrong in thinking that?
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Councillor. And through the Mayor, 56% of people that live within the City of Wanneroo support revoking this item. 33% of people also supported it, but they didn't live within the City of Wanneroo. 10% of people neither agreed nor disagreed, which meant there was 1% of person that did not respond to the survey correctly for us to record it.
Councillor Bedworth.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So if I've got it right then, of the 493 City of Wanneroo residents who replied, 56% of those supported it.
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 493 City of Wanneroo residents in front of me, which makes you correct.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Councillor Herridge, I'll let you go first.
Thank you, Mayor. I just, being that we're using the word revoke, I'm just concerned that we may not specifically all be across exactly what it is that we are recommending to do. Can I ask the Director possibly to explain exactly where we are at in the process? Because we've decided this already and had a recommendation that Council has put us on a path of projecting. And this is revoking something that is already in place with our Dog Act to enact our resolution from December. If she can clarify that for us, please.
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor. This was one that took me a little bit of time to get my head around as well. Thank you. On page 209 of the current agenda, under statutory compliance, it does actually outline that a dog shall not be in a public place unless it is A and B. And then it goes on further to state the exemptions of that dog. So this item is actually understands that currently dogs are allowed under the regulation in our local laws, and the item is recommending that you revoke that ability. Double negative.
Thank you. Question, Councillor Nguyen.
Do we know how many dogs are registered within the city of Wanneroo?
Ms Davis.
Thank you for that excellent question, Councillor. I have asked that one previously. We do keep a record of dogs that are registered, but I don't have that information in front of me right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Huntley, you have a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, my question is, obviously, when we went out to actually give the public notice for this, one of the questions, just to clarify for me, the question was never asked, do you own a dog or a cat? Is that correct?
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Councillor. And through the Mayor, the question was never asked if you own a cat.
Do you have another question, Councillor Huntley?
Yeah. Was it asked then, do you have a dog?
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Councillor. Continuing through the Mayor, on page 871 of the former agenda that I've referenced, question 5, are you a dog owner? Was asked.
And how
Thank
many?
You have another question, Councillor Huntley.
How many of those 493 tick that box?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Davis.
592 people answered this question, of which 495 were dog owners and 97 were not. I'll give you that response in percentages as well. So 83.61% of people who responded to the survey were dog owners.
Thank you. Councillor Coetzee, you had another question?
Yeah, I can't remember it now.
Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify, we're not actually increasing the number of reserves, are we? This is existing reserves.
Ms Davis.
That is correct.
Okay. Question, Councillor Coetzee.
I remember, thank you. With the previous answer that Director have given us, when Councillor Herridge helped out with that one, it basically says this is just for dogs. No dogs is allowed to go off lead at all anywhere in this one. But now I'm asking, my question is, at Scenic Park with the residents that was here, those residents obviously have their dogs off lead. So is there no area at Scenic Park then that the dogs is allowed to be off lead at all?
Ms Davis.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor. I would need to bring up my current geographical knowledge of the area. However, this report in front of you does revoke the ability to have dogs off lead within Scenic Drive. In the second part of your question, if there were areas nearby, I did read those out formally to you, and there are 8 locations identified citywide, of which we're in proximity to all areas currently.
Thank you. Councillor Miles, do you have a question?
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. My question to the Director, I think just for confusion, I did go onto our website and it does say, and maybe the Director can confirm this, that dogs may be exercised on most of the public reserves within the city except to those that are listed. And I do note, and she might be able to confirm this because I'm looking at the GIS, that Bazazji Reserve, which is on the corner of Church Street and Scenic Drive, so they would be able to walk their dogs there off lead. Would that then be correct?
Ms Davis.
Through the Mayor, thank you, Councillor. That location has not been listed within this report, so that would be correct.
Councillor Smith, you have a question.
A procedural motion, Mayor, to defer this item for further community consultation. to then come back to a community forum by no later than end of July.
Councillor Smith, do you have a seconder for this? I'll take Councillor Berry for that. So we now have a procedural motion on the floor to move this item to community, to a forum for further discussion and to come back. By what date again was that, Councillor Smith?
By the end of July.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Berry. Councillors, please cast your vote on the procedural motion. And the procedural motion is supported with, we're missing one person. The procedural motion is supported with Councillor Seave, Councillor Nguyen, Councillor Huntley, Councillor Bedworth, Councillor Parker, Councillor Coetzee, Councillor Smith, Councillor Berry. Supporting. Those against are myself, Councillor Herridge and Councillor Miles. So therefore the procedural motion has been supported. And this item will come back to us again. Yes, Councillor Herridge.
Just a quick question on that, Mayor. Being that this item has progressed, can I just check with General Counsel, if that's okay with you, what actually what implications come out of that procedural? Because I believe we've already advertised that this is coming and this is a part of the process to complete the resolution from Council before.
Ms Coles.
Thank you for the question, Councillor. The dog exercise areas will remain in place until there's a further resolution of council to revoke those exercise areas under the Dog Act. So as it currently stands, they will remain as exercise areas until this item comes back for you to reconsider.
Councillor Herridge.
There's been no advertisement that hasn't had a loop closed then at this point in time.
Is that correct, Ms Coles?
Yeah, at this time, there's been, the only advertisement there's been is about that council has resolved to potentially close them subject to community consultation. So community consultation's taken place and you've got that before you now, but until council have actually made a decision on that, the exercise areas will remain. So we can certainly discuss with the director about putting something on our website and socials just to confirm that they are still exercise areas at the current time.
Councillor Parker, you have a question?
When it does come back, if this gets passed, could we also have more information on the damage that is in fact being done in the reserves? Because I think it needs to be a balanced. I think there are perhaps people here tonight that don't understand the damage that is actually being done. So I'd like that information to come back to us. And there was just something that I just quickly looked at, if I'm allowed to say it, can I? I'll put a question somewhere at the end of it, okay? I think just remembering, or is everybody aware, there you go, a tract of land, the word reserve is a tract of land managed so as to preserve its flora, fauna and physical features. So when this does come back to us, I'd like that to actually be highlighted in a discussion again. Having the residents here this evening, I do hear what they're saying, but looking at this from a reserve, everybody needs to understand, and it needs to be made clear, or can it be made clear, what a reserve actually is. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I have to move on now because we're beginning to debate and we need to move to the next item. Well, we're deferring it but we're moving to discuss this at a forum again later where the questions can be asked. Is this a point of order, Councillor Miles?
Point of clarification, thank you, Mayor. Can I just ask administration what council just voted on All I know is it had to come back at this council by July. So what was administration going to do between now and July to bring it back to us?
Ms Davis.
Through the Mayor, thank you for your question, Councillor. I would like to seek some further clarification on that as well.
I understand. We've already voted on the procedural motion to defer it until July, and with the expectation, from what I understood, that it would come to community, to our consultation forum to discuss further. Is that correct? Following more community consultation. So it will come to a forum, and from a forum the decision will be made from there as to how it will be handled. Well, no, that's not a decision-making process. We will discuss it further to get more information from that, further information. And we need to move on with the meeting, and we can have some informal discussions about this later. And we now go to Corporate Strategy and Performance, Business and Finance, CSO 10425, Financial Activity Statement for the period ended the 28th of February 2025. I have a mover and seconder for this. Moved, Councillor Berry. Seconded, Councillor Parker. Do I have any speakers against this item? If there are no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that item is passed unanimously. I now go to Transactional Finance, CSO 2425, Change of Valuation of Land Method, 210 Hawkins Road, Dundebar 234. Councillor Herridge, you have a declaration to make?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. With regard to item CSO 20425, I disclose that I know both of the people in this matter. As a consequence, there may be a perception that my impartiality on the matter may be affected. I declare that I'll consider this matter on its merits and vote accordingly.
Thank you. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved, Councillor Miles, seconded, Councillor Huntley. Councillor Miles, would you like to speak to this item? Councillor Huntley, would you like to speak to this item?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
There are no speakers against this item. Councillors, please cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. We now go to item CSO 3425, warrant of payments for the period to the 28th of February 2025. Do I have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved, Councillor Berry. Seconded, Councillor Seif. Councillor Berry, would you like to speak to this item?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the report speaks for itself.
Councillor Seif, would you like to speak to this item?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any speakers against this item? If there are no speakers against, councillors, please cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. We now go to item CSO 4425, proposed ground lease to Water Corporation over a portion of Lot 503, Reserve 11598, Old Yanship Road, Pinjar. There are confidential attachments to this item. If there are any discussion about the confidential attachments, we will need to go behind closed doors. Could I please have a mover and seconder for this item? Moved, Councillor Miles. Seconded, Councillor Herridge. Councillor Miles, would you like to speak to this item?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Herridge, would you like to speak to this item?
No, thank you, Mayor.
If there are no speakers against this item, councillors, please cast your vote. And that is passed unanimously. We now go to item 9, motions on notice. There are none. Item 10, we go to late reports, which have a supplementary agenda. Our first item is CEO 1425, licence refusal objection, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bedworth. Dear councillors, while I acknowledge and respect Councillor Huntley's dedication to her charitable work through Paws for Wildlife, I support administration's recommendation not to issue a licence permitting neonatal marsupials on local government property. The City Chamber is a professional workplace and not an appropriate environment for the care of rescue fauna. As elected representatives, our focus must remain firmly on serving our community and addressing the business of council without distraction, including the presence of wildlife within council premises. The neonatal marsupials in Councillor Huntley's care would be better served in a stable care environment rather than being transported to and from council meetings. And it's important to note that under the Act, children are not permitted in council meetings except for breastfeeding infants, with babysitting allowances provided to ensure councillors can fulfil their duties. It stands to reason that a similar arrangement could apply here, with alternate care provided during meeting times. Caring for neonatal kangaroos, while admirable, is not part of a councillor's official duties as outlined in Section 210 of the Local Government Act. Approving this licence would set a precedent for allowing councillors to pursue personal interests during official proceedings, potentially undermining the intent and integrity of the Act. As the largest growth council in Western Australia, managing over $3 billion in assets and an approximate $400 million annual budget, our community expects our full attention on civic matters. The presence of wildlife during council meetings, however well-intentioned, risks unnecessary distraction and sends a conflicting message to our ratepayers. Further, the Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attractions has advised that while rehabilitation licences typically include a condition 5C allowing fauna to be transported when intensive care is needed, this is contingent on land manager consent. In this case, the local government. Our own regulations prohibit animals other than assistance animals from being on council premises. This alone should preclude the granting of the requested licence. Supporting this licence could give the appearance of a double standard, one rule for councillors and another for everyone else, which would understandably be viewed as inequitable by the public. I also remind the Chamber of the following: the significant work, health and safety risks to animals in a council environment, as outlined in the Code of Practice for Wildlife Rehabilitation in WA, March 2020, which is on page 37 of our report, guideline section, second paragraph. Also, the Australian and New Zealand Food Standards Code prohibits the presence of animals in areas where food is handled or served. The risk of distraction, public criticism and reputational damage to the city due to the presence of animals during council proceedings, and that staff required to attend council meetings as part of their duties have not been consulted nor given the opportunity to express concerns about animal presence. In light of these considerations, I respectfully urge you to support administration's recommendation as outlined in the report. Thank you. Councillor Bedworth, would you like to speak to this item? Yes, you can make your declaration, Councillor Huntley.
Thank you. In response to the item, and for some reason I actually don't have the number in front of me, I disclose that for the reason that obviously I am the person that this affects, and as a consequence there may be a perception that my impartiality on the matter may be affected. I declare that I will consider this matter on its merits and I will vote accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bedworth, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Just very quickly, as your speech was very comprehensive, I would just like to point out that under clause 8.32b of the city's own public places and local government property local law, the administration are required to consider the suitability of the premises before granting a licence, and any of the council buildings, in my view, are not suitable for many reasons, most of which you've highlighted yourself. But my concerns are more around hygiene protocols and biological matter waste containment. So for me, this objection, this refusal to grant the licence should be supported, and admin should be supported just based on our own clauses more than anything. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bedworth. Do I have a speaker against this? Councillor Miles.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I did have a look at this, and I have to say that the report that we got on the supplementary item does have a lot more additional information that we didn't have last time, and it does have within that information the responder, in this case Councillor Huntley, is how she would deal with it. The one thing that I am objecting to in the report refers to joeys. We're not approving joeys into the city facility. We are being asked to look at approving neonatal marsupials, or kangaroos, and they are obviously enclosed, as we have seen Councillor Huntley have these for many years to look after the wildlife. So I'm not supporting the administration's recommendation, and I do ask that council not support this one, so we can deal with this item under an alternate recommendation that I have also listed, Mayor.
Thank you. Speakers for? A question? Councillor Nguyen has a question.
Can Councillor Huntley vote on this item, given she's declared a direct interest on this motion, being the applicant?
Ms Coles.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen, for the question. Yes, the councillors raised an impartial interest. There's no direct or indirect financial interest, so the councillor can remain in the chamber and vote on the item.
Any other questions? Councillor Herridge.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I just clarify, as Councillor Miles did also reiterate, there was a lot more information. I believe in the information, the initial request was for a lot more space and a lot more areas to take the neonatal animals to. We've now narrowed it down to meetings only. Is that correct?
Ms Coles.
Thank you for the question, Councillor. The alternate motion narrows this down to the approval down to the council reading room in the elected members area of the Civic Centre, whilst the councillor is attending on council business.
Do you have another question, Councillor Nguyen?
So the licence area, was that initially to cover the entire council premises, or is that just the chambers?
Ms Coles.
Thank you for the question. The original licence application was to bring the neonatal marsupials onto local government property whilst the councillor was undertaking council business.
Okay.
Do you have another question, Councillor Nguyen?
I do. I understand that Councillor Huntley has brought joeys in the past to this area. Does that mean that we have breached a certain act by allowing that to happen in the past?
Ms Coles.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Nguyen. It's the city's public places and local government property local law that you can only bring animals onto the premises if you have a licence. So yes, technically that would be a non-compliance.
So can you then
Councillor
explain if that was a non-compliance, do we prosecute our own non-compliance, or are we required to refer ourselves to another body, or do we need to pass a motion to allow for license that a retrospective approval essentially for that period? Can you please explain?
Ms Coles.
Thank you for the question. You can't provide retrospective approval for that period of time. You can report your non-compliance to the Department of Local Government, and on occasions where the city may miss the deadline to provide minutes of meetings, we will self-report such non-compliances at the time.
Okay, do you
Do you
suggest...
have another question?
Sorry, just follow on with that. Do you suggest that we do that if we haven't done so? And what would be the consequence of not reporting or reporting?
Ms
I'm just
Coles.
concerned for our interests right now.
It's always advisable to report non-compliance against the legislation to the Department of Local Government. Often in the report, we tell them how we've put that right or what we're doing to the future to make sure it doesn't happen again. In relation to the local laws, it's more so that obviously we're enforcing against ourselves. It's our local law, so we would have to enforce it against the city. And it more so comes down to reputation. So if we try and enforce that local law against a resident, and we're not enforcing it against ourselves, that's when we run into difficulties.
Councillor Nguyen.
There was mention in the Mayor's speech that we haven't sought consent from the staff. I thought there was, and there was a response to that as well.
Ms Coles.
Thank you for the question. Yes, we have sought information from the staff. It is in your green folders. The results of the survey is in there.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two questions. The first one follows on from Councillor Nguyen's last question. Can we know how many staff were surveyed as part of that information? Thanks.
Ms Coles.
I'll just defer to the Coordinator of Corporate Governance. Unfortunately, we don't have the numbers.
Councillor Smith.
My second question also refers to something that the Mayor said in her speech about that the neonatal marsupials would be better cared by somebody else. My question is there enough people to provide care to neonatals, or is there a need? And this may be better answered by Councillor Huntley with her knowledge, or is administration aware that there is enough people who have the ability to provide care?
Actually, this is verging on debate. Yes, it's verging on debate. We can look at getting the information later. I'm sure because of Councillor Huntley's interest, there's a conflict there, isn't it, with her responding to it? That you can respond in, Councillor Huntley can respond to that in her debate in the question, okay? Ms Coles has a response.
Thank you. There was 42 responses to the survey.
Thank you. You have another question, Councillor Nguyen.
So what happens to the roos if Councillor Huntley can't care for them? Would they die or left for dead? What's the process for that? Because we're asking her to choose I guess, her responsibility to the ROO or her role as a councillor?
I'm sure Councillor Huntley can respond to that question in debate. So do I have any, we're up to speakers for the administration's recommendation. Councillor Smith?
Only to provide anyone if the opportunity to speak against, should they wish. Thank you.
Speakers against. Councillor Huntley. Can you time this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This item is about a compassionate and practical solution for wildlife carers like myself who need the ability to bring animals needing 24-hour care into the workplace. Why is that important? Well, wildlife carers often work full-time while also looking after animals that require round-the-clock care. Orphan joeys, injured birds or animals recovering from surgery, these are not pets, but native wildlife undergoing rehabilitation so they can return to the wild. If carers are not allowed to bring these animals with them, they face the impossible choices: abandon your job or risk the animal's health. What I am asking for is a clear application process that allows trained and registered wildlife carers who are governed under strict conditions by the Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attractions, DBCA, to apply for permission to bring these animals into suitable workplaces. This being one. These animals are kept in secure pods, pouches, boxes or carriers, and remain quiet and non-disruptive. In many cases, people never even realise they're here. This isn't about bending rules or disrupting workplaces. It's about recognising the vital volunteer role carers play and allowing them to continue that work without having to choose between their livelihood or the life of an animal. Workplaces would still have the right to assess the suitability of their environment. For example, an office may be suitable while a kitchen or clinical area may not. Supporting wildlife carers in this way allows carers to save more animals, prevent unnecessary euthanasia, and support biodiversity, all without significant disruption. It is a small accommodation with a huge impact, and it sends a message that we value compassion, care, and coexistence with our local wildlife. Tonight, I'm calling on my fellow councillors and calling on all employers and regulators to be flexible and compassionate and to support a policy framework that allows carers to do both jobs, their employment and their rescue work. With more urban developments encroaching on native habitats, the need for wildlife carers is only growing and must make provision for carers to carry on this task without forcing them to choose. It is an impossible choice between life and death. As urban development continues to impact wildlife, now is the time for flexible, forward-thinking policies that recognise the value of environmental care alongside economic contribution. I urge employers and policymakers to support a case-by-case application process, balancing compassion, regulation and practicality. Some questions that I'm often asked is why aren't these animals can't they just stay at home while you're working? Many of these animals are orphaned. They are tiny, they're recovering from trauma. Like newborn babies, they require feeds every few hours, monitoring, warmth, and in some cases, medication. Leaving them unattended is fatal. Are these animals a distraction or a health risk in the workplace? These animals are quiet, they're contained, they're not pets, and carers are trained to minimise impact. Risk assessments can be made for each case, and I am advocating for a formal application process so it's done responsibly, not on a pet licence, as you have seen before you. What kind of animals are we talking about? For myself today here, I am a specialist in marsupials. That's joeys, kangaroos, wallabies, possums and quenders. For others, it can be injured birds, some reptiles and other animals, threatened species under strict care in early stages before they're released back into the wild. Who approves us? Wildlife carers are licensed under DBCA and all care is subject to their regulations. What I am seeking is for workplaces to recognise this formal system and create space for carers to apply for exemptions when care is necessary. The Act and DBCA has made a window for working carers, and this should be recognised by workplaces as standard practice. Would this open the door for people to bring in pets and other animals? Not at all. There is a clear distinction between wildlife care and pet ownership. These animals are not owned, they are being rehabilitated for release, and the carers receive no payment, just a strong sense of duty and a need to work to cover the bills. This is no more than a support for wildlife carers in the workplace, a practical and compassionate proposal. I implore you to obviously move to the amended version that Councillor Miles has put up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Huntley. Do I have any speakers for this item? Councillor Nguyen.
I'm going to speak for the item, to boo the roo. I like to say things that are in response to administration, but I won't say that at the moment. I'll just read out what the response from administration is. The main concern, it seems, is to raise the health and safety concerns, and we need to follow the Food Act that prohibits live animal, and obviously it's really impossible for us to make any implementation to cater for the roo, to keep them away from the food, away from the chambers. The other concern relates to the workplace disruptions to staff members, to committee members and the councillors. And we certainly can't do our job with the roo in these chambers. They are just too distracting for us to do anything when the roo is in here. There's also other hygiene costs. It's going to cost $600 for cleaning to have the roo in the room. Certainly there's no plan that we can keep the roo self-contained in pooches, eliminating the potential for cleaning costs. That certainly is impossible for that. I think the exemptions also under this Discrimination Act doesn't apply to the roo. The policy don't account for wildlife in care. So I don't think we can make exemptions for that. Also, I'd like to speak for the item. Our role on council is to govern, and this is certainly this distraction is a waste of time and cost for us to consider. So certainly don't want to be considering this item anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Do I have any speakers against? Councillor Miles.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. My question is to our General Counsel. With this particular bylaw, and obviously this is now brought this to a head before Council, and I know this bylaw probably does need to be updated. This would also point out to having any wildlife, whether it be snakes, birds of prey or anything like that, on any council premises within the City of Wanneroo. Is that correct?
Ms Coles.
Yes, that's correct. So any animals are prohibited on local government property without a licence.
Councillor Miles.
So the Wanneroo show will not be able to have any wildlife on the Wanneroo show and within the Margaret Cockman Pavilion, and or the other places that they rent off the council from time to time.
Ms Coles.
Thank you for the question. As I understand it, when I've discussed with the environmental health team at the city, when there is an event application at certain locations and there's going to be visiting animals for that, it's dealt with as part of the event application and a licence is provided.
Do you have another question, Councillor Miles?
Yes, thank you. So there is provision under our bylaw to issue licences to people that are looking after or caring for wildlife as like the Wanneroo Showgrounds.
Ms Coles.
Thank you. Yes, there are provisions. This is the provision that Councillor Huntley's made the application under, and then the city's done a risk assessment as it would do with any application.
We're up to against, I think. Speakers against? Councillor Smith? A question? Okay.
It's a question about cleaning. So last time that marsupials were in the city was, I think, can you clarify that the report says that no cleaning fee was needed?
Mr. Singh.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not personally aware of any special cleans required at that time.
Thank you. Any other questions? If there are no other questions, any speakers against? Okay, so therefore I will take my right of reply as the mover of the item. I'd like to remind councillors that the City Chamber is a professional workplace and not an appropriate environment for the care of rescue fauna. As elected representatives, our focus must remain firmly on serving our community and addressing the business of council without distraction, including the presence of wildlife within council premises. If Councillor Huntley was to have a neonatal kangaroo here, she would either have it in the council chamber and feeding it in the council chamber, which would be a distraction to our decision-making process, or within our concept forums, or she would be in and out of, I'm closing debate, thank you, Councillor Smith, or in and out of the chamber, which would be a distraction in itself because she would not be in the chamber for the whole debate. She would be going out to feed the joey and then coming back in, which in itself would be an interruption. And if we were in concept forums or briefings, the same would apply. So that in itself would be a distraction from council business with that happening. Plus, she wouldn't be receiving all of the information or the discussion within the meetings if she was coming in and out to do that. The other point I would like to reaffirm is supporting this licence could give the appearance of a double standard, one rule for councillors and another for everyone else. Understanding what Ms Cole said about the licence being applied for events is not applied on a permanent basis for every meeting that's being held within a council building. So therefore, it shows the impression of one rule for councillors and another one for everyone else, and which would be understandably viewed as inequitable by the public. So councillors, I ask that you support administration's recommendation. Thank you. Councillors, please cast your vote. And the recommendation is lost. We have 3-4, which is myself, Councillor Bedworth and Councillor Berry, and the rest of the councillors supported. So now we go to Councillor Miles's alternative. Do you have a seconder?
Yes. Councillor Herridge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Mayor. I think everybody should have the alternates in the green folder if you haven't received it by email. It pretty much articulates what I believe is a good progress in this. I do agree that we don't want neonatal marsupials in the chamber and or in the dining area of our administration or our councillor lounge. That's why in there under 2A, it is the licence is restricted to the council reading room. For those councillors that don't know where that is, it is actually the pass walkway through between this chamber and the lounge area. It's a very small area and is capable of looking after the pouches that the neonatal marsupials would be in. The licence is only for a period of 2 years. if council adopts this alternate. It's only for a 2-year period, and then it can be reviewed. I also agree with administration in their comment on the letter on the last part of their comment, where obviously the administration notes that it will obviously regularly review and monitor the licence to make sure that Councillor Huntley is actually adhering to it. My reason and rationale is basically the same as what the DPCA have realised. When people do have to go to work or go to other events within their lifestyle, under that agreement, under Condition 5C, DPCA, who is the licensing authority for wildlife, has made it clear that people can take these little animals out for care up to 6 hours during the day and or obviously in our case the evening, because fauna does need to be looked after. As we know, the City of Wanneroo has its own policy on when we do urbanisation and wildlife. We were trendsetters in the time as a council to make sure that developers didn't just bowl over bush and didn't just knock over using a D9 bulldozer any sort of animal that was in the way, whether it be a kangaroo or other. And we set that standard very early on, and I think we kept that standard. This is an extension of that. Urbanisation is here. The state government is making it very clear that we have to make sure that we can deliver another 200,000 to 300,000 residences over the next 50 years, and this city is making those decisions based on their recommendation. And if it wasn't for volunteers like Councillor Huntley and others, and I have met many people that do this sort of work, those little ones that are lost, sometimes they get ground into the ground, but sometimes there are good, kind people that rescue these animals and nurture them back, and then obviously put them in a translocational area where they can survive and live out their days in another place. I commend everybody in the wildlife community that does it, and especially people like Councillor Huntley that I know goes out all times of the night and mornings to help animals that are on the side of the road. I don't really wish to comment much further, Mayor, because I don't believe one of your comments that this is a double standard. I think, again, we are setting a standard that other councils can reflect on and say, we agree, we will now make room for any of our councillors and or staff that may wish to be taking on this process going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Miles. Councillor Herridge, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, just to reiterate everything that Councillor Miles said was perfect. But I'm seconding it because I'm happy to assist in finding a suitable compromise for Councillor Huntley. To continue to attend meetings in person, being that our meeting policy is extremely prescriptive on how many can be done online, so she will be jeopardising doing that in the same. So it's a catch-22 for Councillor Huntley to be able to do her job and do the other job that she does so well. I think the compromise of the reading room as the space that they can be held in for the duration of the meeting's attendance while she's here should address the majority of all of the concerns from ourselves and staff, and it will be a good compromise for us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any speakers against this alternative? Do you have a question? Yes, Councillor Parker.
The comment by administration on the back, as Councillor Miles pointed out, would that be worth putting into your proposed alternative? Could that be an addition? Just to make sure that it is actually done, you know, with the, so how could you do that? Going through the detailed licence conditions, and if supported, regular review and monitoring of the licence would be required to ensure ongoing da-da-da-da. Would that be worth putting that into the body of your amendment? Just to give everybody that comfort that that actually will be seen to as well? Okay. No, I think, you know, Jackie, sorry, Councillor, sorry, through the chair. Hearing Councillor Huntley, because I know what Councillor Huntley was when she was talking to the item previously, we were saying wildlife carers, birds and other animals, which was what Councillor Huntley was saying. I think we have to be really aware of, if we do let this through just as marsupials, what Councillor Huntley is saying down the line, there might be another councillor that comes on board in October that does birds or wildlife or snakes, etc. So we need to just be careful that if this does go through, that we put everything in a box and that it is looked at, and administration can come back, check regularly, and if those checks and balances are in, everybody's got to be protected.
Mr CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor Parker. So this is issuing a licence to Councillor Huntley, so it's not a blanket approval for use of the chambers for housing or looking after wildlife. So if we did receive an application, we would treat it in exactly the same way as what we have this one. If we saw that the application was acceptable from an administration perspective, we'd probably grant the licence. I've got authority to do that under the local law. It's only when we disagree, and like in this instance, the proponent can challenge the CEO's decision and ultimately it ends up with council. So I think we've got that handled okay. In terms of the further comment there, I believe it becomes quite operational in that when we issue a licence, this licence has obviously got conditions associated with it, which are quite clear, and then we would just manage and monitor that and take appropriate action should we need to, in accordance with the local law and our internal procedures. So, with the greatest respect, I don't think adding in that paragraph is going to add any further authority or clarity or anything to the administration. I think the way it's written is quite well constructed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any speakers against this? You have a question, Councillor Berry?
Yeah, just one question. How will administration deal with any allergies that may arise from people walking through that area to the marsupials? Thank you.
Mr CEO.
Thank you, Councillor Berry, and through the Mayor. I guess we haven't administratively planned too far ahead, not knowing what the council decision would be, and in fact council hasn't made a decision yet. So I guess in that instance we would play it on a case-by-case basis and obviously work within the resolution of council and the licences issued. So I wouldn't want to go to solving too many solutions to problems that haven't really presented themselves yet. So we haven't given a lot of consideration because a lot of the admin's work was done on assessing the application and then obviously working through this particular process associated with the objection to the decision.
Thank you. Any speakers against? If there are no speakers against, councillors, cast your vote. And that was passed. The alternative was passed with 3 councillors voting against, which was myself, Councillor Bedworth and Councillor Berry. We now go to item 11, urgent business. There is none. And we now go to item 12, confidential. Council will now move into a confidential session to discuss items CRO 1 425 and CRO 2 425 under the terms of the Local Government Act 1995, Section 523(2). Do I have a mover and seconder to go behind closed doors? Moved Councillor Herridge, seconded Councillor Miles. Councillors, please cast your vote to go behind closed doors. We're missing one person. Yes, so we've got 10 supporting going behind closed doors and 1 against, Councillor Nguyen. So I declare we will go behind closed doors and we'll go off air while we discuss the confidential items. So I declare the doors opened at 8:50 p.m. Regarding item CRO 1425, the Mariginiup bushfire clean-up amendment to contract value, the recommendation... Oh, no, you're not needed, Conley. You can go home now. All that for that. Okay, back to the agenda regarding item CRO 10425, Mariginiup bushfire clean-up amendment to contract value. That the recommendation that council approves the revised contract sum of 1.3 million for contract 24104 Mariginiup bushfire coordinated waste cleanup was passed unanimously with the 10 councillors in the chamber. And regarding item CR 02425, independent member of the Audit and Risk Committee, that recommendation that council approves the recommendation from the Audit and Risk Committee to appoint the 2 preferred candidates as contained in the confidential attachment number 5, was passed unanimously with the 10 councillors in the building, in the chamber. Item 13, the date of the next meeting. The date of the next council members' agenda briefing is scheduled for 6 p.m. on the 13th of May 2025 to be held at Council Chamber, Civic Centre, 23 Dundebar Road, Wanneroo. Item 14, closure. Thank you everyone for your attendance, and I now declare the ordinary council meeting closed at 20:52 p.m. Thank you, councillors.